Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Pure Property Podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about how best to find the next best property investment location. So when you're looking to invest in property, how are you going to find that next great location to be investing in? Location or locations, because of course there's not always just one, there could be many, but we're going to go over sort of a very simplified way of doing that. I mean, before we go in to the episode, how's it been going, Matt? All good?
Yeah, all good. I think we're coming into summer now, aren't we? So we're starting to... Well, actually, I did see that... I don't know if you saw about this. Apparently, it was the hottest May since the late 1800s.
Didn't feel like
which
it.
Which is crazy. There was a few really hot days, though.
Yeah.
But I think towards the back end, obviously, we're judging it off of the back end. And
yeah.
Obviously, we've just been there and it wasn't the best.
Pretty sure it was raining the other day on the golf course.
Yeah, this is something for, I guess, people to tune into. Me and Toby are trying, let's put that out there, very much so. The word trying is what we're putting out, trying to play golf at the moment.
Yeah, we're not very good, but we are trying. So.
How would you say it's going so far? We've improved our score, haven't we, actually?
We've improved our score. I don't know if it's a good score.
Yeah, but still.
It's definitely going down.
We take the little wins. That's all we need.
Exactly that.
Yeah, no, apart from that, all good. Yourself, Tobe?
Yeah, absolutely fine. As ever, just pushing along, enjoying the very hot May, of course. No, it's all good. Obviously, a lot going on in general in the property market.
Yep.
And sort of, look, one thing obviously we're keeping an eye on as well is the politics side of things with the general election that's coming up.
We've just seen Nigel Farage get a milkshake thrown at him as well.
Yeah, poor guy. I'm sure he'll get over it. But let's dive into the episode. So obviously looking at areas and locations that are best for investment, one of the things we like to hone in on is data and forecasts and look at the numbers. And one of the things which is good to look at is, what are the big companies, what are the big players saying, what are they forecasting, and what numbers are they looking at? So one to start with would be, Savills, because they've just sort of updated their capital growth forecast for the UK. So what Savills do, and JLL, Knight Frank, all these big companies, is they'll look at the property market, they'll have analysts that will look over it all, and they'll make predictions and forecasts for what they think the next few years are going to look like with house price growth. They also look at rental price growth. They look at sort of different sort of stats and data within the property market, and then forecast what it look like. And it's really good for us to see this because we have our own interpretation of things. Mm-hmm. We try not to be swayed by them, but it's always good to see what they are forecasting because that can really show signs of underlying things going on in the market, sentiment within the market, whether that's related to the economy itself or just the property market. There's crossover there, but this will all flow into, because you would have noticed when we had, the recent years of tough times with the rates rising, cost of living crisis, etc. Their reports were sort of coming out and not looking the best because they were looking at the markets, looking at the sentiment. Yeah, very, very negative. Look, it didn't actually turn out that way. Which was a good thing. It wasn't. Don't get me wrong. They weren't too far off, but It wasn't as bad as they thought. And we've seen a lot of change in those. I'm pretty sure it was Knight Frank at the beginning of the year. I've mentioned before on the podcast, did upgrade their forecast on the UK house price growth as an average. But Savills, as we mentioned, they've just released their 5-year forecast. So that's where they break it into regions. So they look at the UK as a whole, but then they break it into regions. Now, we've got actually the data here, because there's no way I was going to memorise all of this. So the UK, why don't you start with the UK figure, Matt?
So as a whole, from obviously we're in 2024 now, leading up to 2028, they are predicting to see a 21.6% increase in property prices. That is a average across the whole of the UK. So that will consist of the north, the south, the Midlands, across the board there. So definitely something that is a real positive, I think, to any investor looking at the market, no matter where you're looking location-wise. I think that is a massive positive to see that hopefully they should see some capital growth gains. Obviously, this doesn't forecast the rental side, so which is... we're very big on the fact that it's going to do well over time, but I think a massive factor there is that for me, looking at that sign is a massive positive.
Yeah.
And obviously certain regions will be better than that. Certain regions will be a little bit under. But as an average, I think that's a very solid number. What do you think, Tobe?
Yeah, I think it is. And like you said, it is an average. So like the South, etc., will sort of probably bring that down. But it is good because they're now forecasting positive growth in 2024, where before these companies were seeing a slight decline. Again, it wasn't massive, but like a like a 0.6, just to give an example. I can't remember the exact figure, but it was around that figure, maybe 1% decline as UK average. But they're now saying in the UK, they're looking at a 2.5% increase in 2024 alone. And then, like you said, that 5-year forecast, it'll be 24 as 1 year, 25 as 1 year, 26 as 1 year, 27 1 year, and then 28 1 year, sort of including fives. And then they bring that out to 21.6.
I was going to say, why don't you give us the top location that Savills are predicting the most growth in?
Yeah, so top region, which to be fair is no surprise because it's something that we speak about, or a location we speak about, and we do a lot in terms of the property investment, the developments we bring on. It's the Northwest.
Yeah.
So the Northwest prediction over the next 5 years is to see capital house price growth of 28.8%. So
big numbers.
Really, really strong sort of averaging. And look, to be fair, that average figure is brought down because they're seeing a steady increase this year. So I think it's over 2%. So it says here, well, actually 2024, they're looking at 4% increase this year, which is good. And then it picks up from then on. So I think going through all the data here, the one common theme is what they're saying is like this year is going to be quite steady, positive, but steady. And then it's gonna sort of push on from there, which, look, we've actually been saying that on the podcast. We stuck to our guns,
especially with all the regeneration plans that have been in place. And as you said, so because I think we work in a lot of those locations, we've massively focused in terms of our attention to what's happening in those areas, what money's being pumped into there, the affordability levels in the cities themselves. Obviously, to give people some context as well, what are the major cities in the Northwest that people should be looking out for?
Manchester is one of them. It's a big one that we look at. Another one that we know of and that does well is Preston. Liverpool as well. Liverpool we talk about a lot. So you got major cities like that, and the ones I've just named have all got major regeneration programs going on.
And also the connectivity with the transport side, they're looking to increase as well. Obviously, we know the South has got HS2, and they are still doing the HS2 plans. I think in the North in certain parts too.
Well, what they're doing is they're shifting the budget rather than actually HS2. They're going to be connecting. Like, so for example, I think a couple of days ago it was just announced in the news. The government made an announcement that they're putting funding like millions of pounds towards connectivity and link up between Manchester and Liverpool. So pretty much what the HS2 would have done, but it's just linking up the North.
Strengthening up the North.
Yeah. Exactly. But following in second place, why don't you say who's in second? Second, for the regions.
Yorkshire and Humber in second place. So with that, you've got 28.2% forecasted over the next.
So not a lot in it really.
To be honest with you, very, very marginal difference. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's an area that we've also been very fond of over the past couple of years as well.
Leeds, Bradford, Halifax,
the likes of those kind of areas.
Doncaster's another one up there, which is a good location.
Sheffield as well. I believe that's there.
And then I'm just trying to think. No, they're the major ones in terms of regen and stuff like the stuff we look at. But it is, it's
real positive.
Yeah, and then just below them you've got Wales, Scotland, and then you've got the Northeast. And then at no surprise as well, at the bottom of the pile is London. But not being too harsh or negative on London because they are predicting positive increase. So they're looking over. They're seeing they predict a positive increase in prices there this year. They're saying 2%, and then over the next 5 years, they're predicting an average of 14.2%. So overall, the reason we're saying this is because one, it's good for the property market. But looking at that now, if you're a property investor, you say, well, okay, well look, these top two locations, Northwest, Yorkshire, and Humber. Well, these companies like Savills, JLL, Knight Frank are obviously highlighting these for a specific reason, and they'll be looking at the investment fundamentals, they'll be looking at the economies in that location.
It's not like they're just judging the numbers off of a couple of things. They'll be going into real detail.
Yeah,
they've been doing that for years, haven't they? I mean, for absolute years, they've been able to obviously get credible sources where they're getting their data from and how they forecast their predictions as well. So it's really positive to see. And even the south, east and west, obviously both seeing, they're predicting obviously 18% increases, which is, I think if you look at that as an investor, especially for me, it's making me want to get in the market even more.
Exactly. So, well, how would I, an investor, use this to then pick out, good locations? Well, look, I'd be looking at the Northwest. I'd be looking at Yorkshire and Humber. I'll be saying, well, look, obviously you'd know this at the beginning, but what's my budget? If I can afford 200,000, well, look, realistically, I'm probably priced out of Manchester, for example. Maybe I'll look at Liverpool, or maybe I'll look at Preston because I can get more for my money there. And then you'll start looking at those areas, because I say those areas because they've got regeneration nearby going on, and it all helps all those within that region. And then you may be looking at Yorkshire and say, well, actually, Yorkshire's not far off. What can I get with my money there? You've got Halifax, Leeds, maybe if you want a really good quality sort of investment that we look at in terms of our strategy, maybe not the best one, but then you've got Bradford and, areas in and around or between Leeds and Bradford, like a Wakefield, or there's different little pockets like commuter locations. They'll be benefiting from the regeneration, looking at those areas and then picking one out, and that will help you start to build up a location of where can I be looking, because they're forecasting this, so there is substance behind that, of course.
Yeah, as you said, Toby, I think definitely have a look at your budget, see where you can make your money work hard for you over the next couple of years. And look, we don't always rely purely and solely a lot of the time as investors on the capital growth. As, look, if anything, it's a real luxury and a benefit to doing that. But I think looking at the statistics there and giving you an idea as to kind of what is forecasted, I think it can maybe sway. We always say, don't we, to investors, kind of move with the market, look at the data, look at where, because look, if you're investing in one location for your whole life, there's going to be times where maybe that's not the most favourable option for you, and you're not going to get the most out of your money. Whereas if you do, or you are open, I think it's like companies, isn't it? They're able to kind of set back, have a look at maybe where their options are go. Look, AI's coming in, maybe we could get on AI. It's the exact same, I think, with the property market. I think you have to take a step back sometimes and think, look, I've invested here for a while. The growth has been great, but if I was to invest here again, maybe I wouldn't see the same. So let's look at maybe the likes of the Northwest, where maybe I can get maximum out for my money. And that's what I'm personally doing as well myself at the moment. Yeah,
no, exactly that. Great point there. And then going on from there, so you found the region, and then maybe you pick an area. So let's say you pick Leeds, and then what I recommend from there, we won't go into too much detail because there's a lot to go in, but then you want to maybe start looking on Rightmove, putting in Leeds, or you can even Google good postcodes within Leeds, and there'll be enough out there where you have forums, property forums maybe, or just local forums where you start to get an idea of where's good. Then you can start to really hone in, go on Rightmove. Maybe it's LS11 you've seen, LS11's, looks good. You can go into LS11. Then you can obviously type properties for sale. You might do for your budget, etc. And then you'll look at the price ranges, look at what's available, what's selling, and then you can do the same for rental as well within the area, which I think is really helpful.
And also, even just speaking to agents or people that actually focus in those certain areas. If you're speaking to, whether it be an agency like ourselves, where you're focusing on certain areas and you want to know how it's performing, what our thoughts are, even speaking to an estate agent to see what the rental demand's like in the area. You can do a lot of this research based off of the back of just doing it in your own time. But look, if you haven't got the time, then maybe just lean on an expert to give you that.
Yeah, exactly that. Companies ourselves, and as you mentioned, they're letting agents, estate agents, utilise them, give them a call. I'm looking in the area. Where's a good place for investments? Where do you rent well?
We know some of them, don't they? They will keep you on their list for investments. If you kind of say, look, I'm an investor, this is the area I like, this is my rough criteria. Is it suitable? Do you think things would come up that are in this? And a lot of the time, they'll keep you on their books.
And, use the internet's there as a tool. Use it to do your research. Like we've just launched a new site in an area called Frossall Hill. The development's called Frossall Hill, but it's in
Ecclesfield.
Ecclesfield, yeah, and nearby. It's Eccles Hill.
Eccles Hill. That's
Eccles Hill is where it's located. So, Frossall's Nest is what we've launched. And again, when the site was brought to us, it's not a location that would first be sort of whacked upon our desk, but the new build developer, this is houses as well, has brought it to us, offered us the exclusive stock, and I've then started to do my due diligence. So I send off my questions for the due diligence to the developer. Then I start to look at the area. And what's really interesting is, looking at the sort of speaking to local people, looking at the data, I can start to see regeneration going in around this area. And that's going to definitely pull in a lot of money to that economy. It's going to pull in people wanting to buy and live there, and building up cases like that just by doing research on the internet is how we then figured out, this is a great investment location, the infrastructure, the logistics of getting around, how close it is to Leeds and Bradford, the link ups with the train stations, etc.
Schools as well. I was going to say that was a big thing that I know you always look at, especially if it's a house. It could be rented out more so to a family, right?
Exactly. Yeah, picking the right investment fundamentals for the type of property as well. So that is well suited for that location. But
you actually went up there, didn't you, the other day?
Yeah, so I went up there, met the developer, and to be fair, another thing why we're so sort of keen and happy about this development is, there's new build sites nearby from well-known nationwide developers, and they're, no offence to those developers, but they're a lot poorer quality, and we've got these houses at a lower price per square foot by quite a bit, and these are much higher quality, underfloor heating, ceramic tiled flooring in the kitchens, bathrooms, air source heat pump, really efficient homes, 3 double bedrooms, 2 spaces outside, electric charging
made
points.
For the end user, aren't they? Yeah. They're not just standard investor buy to let, where they know they can probably do it on a cheap.
Yeah, these are cracking properties, and look, it's a great asset and a great investment case because you got it below market value. It's in an area of great demand for that type of that property. It's perfect for that location, and it makes a perfect investment. But the reason I mention that is because doing the research on the location to pick that as a good area, the first thing we did is we looked at where is it located nearby, and we saw those 2 major cities. We saw the regeneration going in around there, the money being pumped in there, and that makes it a great investment case. I mean, that's just in simple terms, of course, but there's a lot more that we do, of course. But just as a starting point for investors, honing into good locations, that's another way you can definitely do things.
Definitely checking all the fundamentals, making sure things stack up. And it's a good site. Yeah,
I mean, looking at sort of, I suppose, success stories, I think the Exchange in Preston is a great one in terms of, when you're picking a good location. Now, you might be best to go over this in terms of, why we looked at that development, why we looked at Preston, why we picked that as a location, how we picked that as well, to really give an insight to sort of investors and what they could be looking at in a similar way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Preston is a city that I think we've been massively fond of for a little while now. I think it's I personally would see it as the hidden gem of the Northwest. I think Liverpool, Manchester are always getting the headlines.
Yeah.
I think Preston is a city that definitely it's one to keep an eye on. I think the quality is starting to come in there, maybe with the likes of how Manchester did with Renica when they first kind of came in and started doing these premium sites and premium developments, which weren't really seen in Manchester beforehand.
Yeah.
The exact same thing now is happening in Preston. There's a few sites now where they've got luxury kind of amenities within the building, and all it's doing is just driving up the standard and the quality of living there. Obviously, we know there's a massive tech industry, kind of a lot of employers are in the tech side in Preston. So employment-wise, there's a lot of people obviously looking for those sort of jobs and maybe relocating for them from the likes of London into Preston. So demand is something that's being massively pushed up there. Obviously, we've got the capital growth forecast, which we've just literally spoke about, which is a massive indication, plus the regeneration that's actually happening within Preston, which if you don't know, definitely do some Googling, have a look up online. There's some great insights to Preston. But look, the price point's attractive. Obviously, it's not as high as the likes of your Liverpool and Manchester, so slightly below that. And just generally good value for money. So I think when we look at it, it's kind of something that sometimes people might say, when they first see an investment opportunity or a good development in Preston, it could be quite overpriced, but there's nothing in the market like that yet, which we've now have as a good tool for other developers now to go in there and start really developing and setting the standard, which we've seen in Manchester, we've seen in Liverpool. So I generally do believe that values over time are going to absolutely skyrocket in that area for sure.
Yeah, I mean, one example of a success story in that one of the investors that got into that Preston development, I think they bought just under 140 grand or just 135 grand, sorry. And they managed to see from buying off plan to 12 months later completion, they saw like nearly a 20% uplift in price there, just from that development alone. So, and the rental yields increase. And again, they're going to see good longevity in that particular development and location because of Preston, because of the type of location it is. Like, there's more money going in. There's another one in Wakefield, which is commuter location to Leeds. These were some houses a bit similar, like the Frossel Nest development we've got. Commuter location. Again, we got them at a great price, and clients, from when they bought in, they managed to see it as well. A great sort of uplift there. Sort of again around sort of 20% uplift in capital appreciation. So
just shows the benefits, doesn't it, of getting in early,
of buying in the right
benefiting,
location.
and look, it has to be the right property as well. So make sure you're doing your due diligence, or whoever you are dealing with on the matter, to kind of maybe see some case studies or look into that. And just going back to Preston quickly, there it's now. I think what we're going to start seeing in cities like that is you're going to see big developers that are going, actually, there's a good bit of land in Preston, which before they would have probably neglected.
Yeah.
But you're getting big industry developers that have been maybe operating for 30 to 50 years that are now wanting a piece of that pie. So they're going to be buying up central locations and developing those to high standards.
Yeah.
Whereas before, maybe it wasn't worth their time. But yeah, definitely something. And as obviously you said, the Wakefield one, definitely a good case study that we've had there, and some good feedback from clients. But in regards to that, I think that speaks volumes in itself, buying in at the right time, at the right price.
Yeah. Right location.
Right location. So all of those boxes ticked.
And then, so what would you say key pointers are for, knowing a location that has regeneration going on? So, how can people see this or find this out? I mean, you bought in Liverpool. You don't obviously. Yeah. I know you're in the industry, but take yourself out of your industry shoes.
I always like to try and run a little kind of checklist for myself. I want to look at, number one, what regeneration is happening in the area. You can go online for sources like that. You've got, good data sources that we always use is obviously Home Track, which is supplied via Zoopla.
The local government sites, like if you type in Liverpool regeneration, the local government sites will bring it all up.
Exactly that. You've obviously got the likes of Savills, JLL, which obviously Knight Frank, which you've all kind of mentioned beforehand. So you've got all of those which you can kind of do your own research and have a look into.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something like regeneration. You want to make sure if you're in and around that, even if you're just on the outskirts of the city, you've got the ripple effect that will hopefully take place, even if it's a couple of years after, but you're still going to see that. So for me, that's a massive factor in terms of that, because I think a lot of money can be made in capital growth. Like the rental,
that's where you make your chunk of money.
You can make significant amounts, especially with the off-plan market, and benefiting from getting in at the right price and the right time frame. So I think that's definitely something I looked into. Also, the rental side, you have to look into that.
Yep.
Is it an area that's seeing massive demands? Do you think obviously increases over rental values will go up over time?
Yep.
Supply and demand. Something as well, which once again you can get these reports online. To be honest with you, there's some great sources out there, which obviously I know we've mentioned quite a few already, that you can literally just do some research off the back of that yourself.
Yeah.
But as I said, maybe reverting back to what we said before about estate agents, letting agents, speaking to people that are actually within the area to get a real indication of what's happening in that particular area, that postcode, which performing postcode is maybe the best.
Yeah. You
can do all of that research off the back of some Googling. Of course, not every website is going to be credible, but
always
have a little look at what the
sources
sources are. Because if it's someone maybe just having their own kind of peace of mind and a blabber as such, then it could be any old nonsense you're getting. But those are the two key things for me: regeneration, number one, and also rental. Kind of what's the rental looking like? Is there what's happening in the area to kind of push demand in there? And obviously, for example, with Liverpool, we know that there's a undersupply of around 3,000 homes that are not being delivered every single year that need to be to keep up with the current demand. So you want to weigh up supply and demand here for sure.
Yeah, no, there's great points there. Yeah, so looking at the regen in the areas, you've got the likes of Manchester, Liverpool and Preston. Great examples there, which you can look into. Just type in Manchester regeneration, loads will come up. Same with Liverpool, Preston, or whatever, even like Leeds, etc. And then start to go for it. See the articles, see the government announcements. See what funds they're putting in there, and that'll help you really be able to highlight sort of being able to know what location has good regeneration on, and make sure you look at the amount being spent. Because it's all good having most locations in the UK will have some sort of regeneration, but it's actually the level and caliber that it's at. Because you can have regeneration in one of your local towns, but if it's only £1 million to make your high street look a bit nicer, that's not really going to do a lot for the property market.
It's not going to massively uplift your value.
Yeah, you need to be looking at stuff which is going to benefit the economy, drawing in businesses, job opportunities, which is drawing people and good working professionals to the area. Big companies like there was one, Frost Nest is near Bradford, and Bradford's got a dedicated millions of pounds have been spent on like an office block. PwC have taken 2 floors in there as well. That's the caliber of people. That's the caliber of attracted companies and people to the area. So stuff like that speaks.
We saw it in Manchester, didn't we? The BBC, ITV moving up there, and I think there'll be a hell of a lot of people relocating from the likes of maybe London, moving up to their headquarters up there.
Yeah.
Loads of they're just the investment fundamentals to look into, aren't they?
Yeah, I think, look, in terms of when you're picking the best location, that is definitely, to summarise, that is a good way to have a good base point. Look at areas which have got great regeneration.
And majority of people can do this. It's not like this is not for a savvy investor or someone that needs industry experience. You can do that off the back.
As I said, starting point's really good is to look at those forecasts and stuff like that from the likes of Savills, because they'll be looking at those areas, and that's something they'll probably factor in. Why are these areas doing well? Northwest, okay, well, maybe you could say Northwest regeneration, and it might bring up Manchester and Liverpool, and then you can go into there. What regeneration is going on there? Okay, that's how much being spent. That's what they're looking to do. And it usually does give you an outline of what it's looking to do to the local area, the business, the city, etc. And then start building, layers upon layers, looking at that. And then, just start building your investment case. That's probably the best way to sort of hone in on a location initially. And then once there is a lot of nitty gritty stuff you can get into and you can go really, really in depth, but that's a lot to do. But look, it's just in general, if you are looking for the next investment hotspot, shall we say, let's just get in touch with us, and we're happy to have a conversation to let you know, look, where we're looking, what have we got around, or what we're looking for, what's hot on our list at the moment. You don't necessarily have to follow us, or you don't have to take our advice, or even some of the opportunities we've got. We're not saying, oh, look, you have to do that, but you can have the conversation and we can sort of point you in the right direction.
Think if anything, it just speeds up the process, doesn't it? In terms of, we've done the research, we can send you the links if you want to take an actual look for yourself. Yeah. At least we've got everything there for you to then at least not have to spend hours looking at.
Lean on the professionals. We're doing this. So if you want any information from us, we're happy to do. So if you are looking to invest in the next location hotspot for property investments, just get in touch today. That'd be great.
Yeah, I think that's all.
Right. We'll see you on the golf course then.
See you on the golf course.
See you next time, everyone.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.